and arrival in the Philippines?
Charles, as far as the FDA is concerned, the Director General Eric Domingo has no information about the timetable of the arrival of the Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine. But according to Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez has earlier reported, Pfizer may come in the Philippines by February through the COVAX facility as facilitated by WHO and Gavi. When it comes to our procurement to Pfizer, it may come to the Philippines by mid-2021. Charles?
Right, Greg, but then who exactly can procure the Pfizer vaccine? Is it just the national government or private institutions, LGUs allowed to do so? What of this multi-partite requirement from the national government?
Charles, since only an emergency use authorization is given to Pfizer and BioNTech's vaccine, only the national government can procure vaccines from Pfizer. However, according to FDA Director General Eric Domingo, if the National Task Force Against COVID-19 would allow LGUs to enter into tripartite agreements with Pfizer, they may secure advanced procurement of Pfizer shots. And when Pfizer shots come into the Philippines, it will be given to our priority sectors such as the healthcare workers. Charles?
All right, Greg, Sinovac applied for an EUA just yesterday. Could you give us more details on this?
Yes, Charles, according to FDA Director General Eric Domingo, again, he mentioned that the Sinovac application for EUA is still in a pre-assessment phase. They still need data of the Sinovac's clinical trial phase 3, which is happening in Brazil and Turkey. Charles?
All right, Greg, do we have any updates about the UK variant of the COVID-19 virus that's been detected in this returning resident from Dubai? How are these contact tracing efforts shaping up?
Charles, according to the Department of Health, contact tracing is underway. They have identified 159 co-passengers of this 29-year-old male who tested positive for the UK variant via Emirates flight number EK332. Of these number of co-passengers, 58% have been identified. Some of this have already responded to the Department of Health, while others are still being located through the help of the local government units. Charles?
All right, Greg, what about that OFW in Hong Kong who also tested positive for this new variant? Last we heard, she had some close contacts both in Manila and in Cagayan. Has any of them tested positive with this new variant?
Trust, according to Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, all close contacts of this Pinay domestic helper who tested positive on the UK variant in Hong Kong, all of her close contacts in Cagayan tested negative for COVID-19, while some of her close contacts in Manila tested positive for the COVID-19. However, when their specimens were subjected to the gene sequencing conducted by the Philippine Genome Center, they tested negative for the UK variant. However, since they tested positive for COVID-19, they still remain under strict quarantine. Charles?
Thank you, Greg Gregorio, reporting live from Mandaluyong. Former Health Secretary Esperanza Cabral points out two important principles that the government should follow to improve our vaccination program. Speaking with Cito Beltran on One News's agenda, Cabral said the government should focus on procuring vaccines that will give the best value for our money. That's on top of reforming the, quote, slow procurement process that's affecting our pandemic response.
Ang premise is everybody is corrupt until proven otherwise. Kaya tuloy, napakadaming safeguards na inilalagay nila. Yung mga corrupt issues, yung mga corruption issues, hindi naman nasusolve nito. Ang nangyayari lamang ay bumabagal ang proseso dun sa mga kailangan nating gamitin.
Cabral also said that to achieve the goal of vaccinating 70 million Filipinos in 1 year, the health agency should inoculate at least 6 million Filipinos every month.
I hope it is possible with the government because they need to improve the efficiency of vaccine delivery, they need to open up vaccination centers. They need to train more people to provide the vaccines and to provide information about the vaccine that they're getting. So, napakalaking undertaking talaga. Pero, kung gusto natin, kaya natin gawin.
Brace yourselves. The World Health Organization says the second year of the COVID-19 pandemic may be even tougher than the first. The group points out the spread of the more infectious variants of the virus, just as the global death toll approaches 2 million out of a total of 91.5 million infections. In its latest update, the WHO noted that after 2 weeks of fewer reported cases, a sudden spike of 5 million new cases was reported last week.
Going into a second year of this, it could even be tougher given the transmission dynamics and some of the issues that we're seeing. So we need to, really focus on taking the positives, looking at what's worked in every country, and then transferring that knowledge to others.
More senators are questioning the government's apparent preference for China's Sinovac. This despite recent results from Brazil showing that the vaccine actually has a general efficacy rate of just a little over 50%. Mean Los Baños with the story.
Indonesian President Joko Widodo received the first dose of Sinovac Biotech's vaccine in his country. His cabinet members followed suit. This officially kicked off Indonesia's vaccination program just 2 days after Sinovac was granted emergency use approval. But new questions are arising over Sinovac's efficacy. Latest trial in Brazil shows that the vaccine is just around 50% effective after mild cases were included in the trial. This is barely enough for regulatory approval and well below the 78% efficacy rate announced in the South American country last week. Back here in the Philippines, Senator Panfilo Lacson questioned the government's supposed preference for Sinovac, citing its alleged record of suspended clinical trials. He noted that the Chinese firm has not even applied for EUA in the country. It is also the second most expensive vaccine at over 3,600 pesos per 2 doses. This, along with the shot's low efficacy rate, will be discussed during the resumption of the Committee of the Whole's hearing on the country's vaccination program.
We're forced to go kung yun lang talaga available. But what if the AstraZeneca and Pfizer or Malaya is available? Or even Sinopharm, in Sinopharma? Oh, what if that is available? Then those will be the burning issues that we will be asking on Friday.
Senate President Tito Soto adds that the hearing will focus on finding solutions to allow LGUs and the private sector to directly purchase vaccines.
We will insist on Friday to find a solution to that particular predicament where we are in, where a tripartite agreement is necessary. And hopefully the FDA, the Department of Health, and the IATF would be able to give us, or the vaccine CHAR, would be able to give us a solution to that particular issue.
The committee has also invited a couple of cabinet secretaries and other groups to shed light on the matter. Among them are vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr., IATF Chair Secretary Francisco Duque III, WHO Country Representative Rabindra Abiyasinghe, Testing Czar Vince Dizon, FDA Director Eric Domingo, and local government leaders. Soto says they also invited a vaccine expert to explain the safety and efficacy of different vaccine brands. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Russia is about to register its third coronavirus vaccine. The Russian Chumakov Research Center is now preparing to apply for state registration of its vaccine. The country's health ministry is expected to decide next month. The Chumakov Center says the vaccine does not have a name yet, but it has not resulted in any sort of safety concerns during clinical trials. Russia has already developed 2 COVID-19 vaccines, the Sputnik V and Epivac Corona. The third vaccine took a longer time to develop as it used a more traditional approach, where a patient is inoculated with a portion of a dead virus to start the production of antibodies.
Мы для нашей вакцины вынуждены были дождаться момента, когда вирус попал на нашу территорию, когда наши специалисты смогли поработать в клиниках, где находились реальные больные, собрать порядка более 200 образцов этих вирусов, здесь с ними поработать, описать, охарактеризовать.
The Sandigan Bayan has formally dismissed the graft cases against DICT Secretary Gringo Onasan. The Anti-Graft Court's Second Division granted Onasan's demur to evidence, along with 7 other members of the National Council on Muslim Affairs. This means the prosecution was not able to present sufficient evidence tying them to the crime. Recall that they were slapped with 2 counts of graft for supposedly using the former senator's pork barrel to fund ghost projects in 2012. On now to sports, the Houston Rockets have traded James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets in a 4-way deal. Houston reportedly received Victor Oladipo from the Pacers, Dante Exum from the Cavs, and Rodion Kurucs from the Nets in exchange for the beard. That's on top of 3 first-round draft picks from the Nets, 1 unprotected 2022 first-round draft pick from the Cavs via the Bucks, and the right to swap 4 first-round picks with the Nets. The trade comes 1 day after a disgruntled Harden went on a post-game rant following Tuesday's 117-100 loss to the Lakers. Harden told reporters that he doesn't think the situation in Houston could be fixed. This is the closest Harden had come to publicly demanding a trade, and the Rockets responded by telling him not to attend Wednesday's practice. And those are the top stories of the hour. Join Sean Yao later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. We are One News.